Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for spending time with us on such a beautiful day. So today we have Bruce Tulgan, who's going to share some amazing insights with us. Before we get started, I just want to bring two events to your attention. And then I want to thank Taylor and Erin, especially for making this possible. So on August 3rd, which will be our next Rec speaker series, Bill Parisi from Parisi Sports is going to talk to us about fascia training, which could be a whole new profit center going forward. He and the medical team he works with is now working with the NFL strength coaches and actually teaching them about fascia training, which we think will then come to the commercial fitness industry in the near future. Second is that for those of you going to URSA in October, on October 12th, Tuesday before URSA, we're doing an event in conjunction with ABC Fitness Solutions, on Tuesday afternoon from 3:30 to 6. And we officially, if you haven't seen the announcement, we have Robert Herkovic from Shark Tank, who's going to be our speaker for an hour. And then we're going to have a reception following that, open to all the Rex members. And each Rex member can bring 2 staff with them as well. So with that, I want to talk about Bruce and what he's done in his amazing career to be indispensable to all of us with his great ideas. Bruce, let me pull up part of your introduction. So he's the founder of Rainmaker Thinking, a research training consulting firm in New Haven, Connecticut. Rainmaker Learning, which is an online training resource. Internationally recognized as one of the foremost experts in leadership and performance management in the workplace. I'm fortunate to have been connected to Bruce through a Rex Roundtable member, who, when I asked him, what's the 1 or 2 people you'd love to see and share with everybody, Bruce's name was tops on the list. And so thank you, Asaf, for recommending Bruce. We really, really, really appreciate that. All the Rex members should have received the 5 ebooks within the last week that I forwarded to you as courtesy from Kim and Bruce at Rainmaker Thinking. If you didn't get them, send me an email at eddie@rexroundtables.com and I'll make sure you do get them. Bruce is also the author or co-author of 20 books, including the best-selling book, It's Okay to Be the Boss, which is this one. It's out, as well as the latest one, The Art of Being Indispensable at Work, which is available from Harvard Business Review. His work's been the subject of thousands of news stories around the world. He's written for the New York Times, USA Today, Training Magazine, HR Magazine, Harvard Business Review, lectures at the Yale School of Management and other business schools. He has a 6th degree black belt, which I'm not even going to try and say what type of karate, Bruce, so let you do that.
Just karate.
No,
you can say karate. It's Uichiru karate.
And he's been wonderful to work with. Prior to this, I just want to share that with all the Rex members. His wife, Debbie Applegate, also won a Pulitzer Prize for her book, The Most Famous Man in America, about 19th century minister Henry Ward Beecher. So with that, I'd like to open to Erin from Forte Fit. We're going to give her a few minutes, and then we're going to pass to Taylor at Digital Rev, and then we'll come back to Bruce.
All right, thanks, Betty. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And just to give a little bit of background on Forte, but also I guess why this continues to be important, for our industry and wider. So as we know, this is our past years can consistently change how our consumers consume health and wellness. And that digital continues to be something that consumers are looking for as a companion, to their physical memberships and experiences. And so thanks to Eddie, this article that he just recently shared from McKinsey and Company, The Future of the 1.5 Trillion Wellness Market, just reiterated this again, just a couple months ago, around really the necessity to have this as part of our strategy going forward and part of the kind of ecosystem of our members, and having a digital component to the offering so that we can really meet consumers where they are and keep them engaged within the ecosystem of their fitness experience. And so with Forte, one of the biggest differentiators for us is that we are a fully automated streaming platform, and that helps you create live streaming and on-demand content with your instructors and your trainers, and really curating content that meets all the different cohorts of members, across the board. Studio level production that integrates with your member management system. And we help with the music as well, which is a big thing when you start doing live streaming and on demand. And all your team needs to do is show up. So some of the key differentiators is why Forte is different from maybe some of the other options out there. It's 100% automated. So there's no human operators needed, which is a game changer, especially when you're looking for a solution that needs to be sustained and maintained, for the longer term, as a longer term strategy. But you also need something that's very high production level. So, which is what we provide with the hardware that we provide. It's 100% white labeled for your business, live and on-demand classes, two-way video and audio communication, which no one else is offering currently. Live leaderboard, live and on-demand chat functions, high five. So we've really leveled up the engagement side, because we think if you're going to offer something digitally, it has to be engaging for people to take advantage of it longer term. We have the wearable integrations with MyZone, Apple, Fitbit, and Garmin. And again, full member management integration. We provide music, white labeled app included. Dedicated marketing support, which is key, from really able to promote this as an ancillary option for your members to take advantage of, unlimited on-demand content, and then really detailed reporting, so you know what's working and what's not working, so you can manage it longer term. Here are some of the current partners that we're working with. And as we're having this discussion, this is really what the big guys are thinking about, is that this kind of like is a table stakes piece of the business that needs to happen going forward, having a digital companion to the physical experience. So we can certainly help you with that. And here is a little short 1-minute video that will give you a little snapshot of what we do and what the platforms look like. And then I'll turn it over to Taylor. All right, so thank you very much. I'll turn it over to Taylor now. And if you'd like to talk about this more, please reach out to me at aaron@forte.fit. And thanks, Eddie, for the opportunity. Really appreciate being here with you guys.
Thanks, Aaron, for everything. Appreciate all your support and help.
Of course.
Hey, Taylor.
Hi, everybody. Just want to say thanks for having me today. And then I'm actually really excited to listen to what Bruce has to say as well. Already think I broke my printer printing off all the ebooks, because I'm going to write copious notes. But I'm the founder and CEO of Digital Revenue Systems. We're new to Rex and new Rex trusted supplier. We generate additional income for clubs by selling external advertising on your behalf on your own private, customizable, and easily managed digital display network. So we partner with your clubs directly to create a network that ensures members' experience and club content, promotions, and are a priority, and keeps your members' needs in mind. And really, the only thing I want to leave you with, because I'm kind of excited with today and all, is do you know the income that your digital displays can generate? If you want some help figuring that out, we do a free consultation, as well as offer all Rex members a discount to our services. So really the only thing I would want to share right now is, again, we help deliver custom curated private digital signage network for your club to help you reinforce your brand, to tell the story about your brand, create awareness of things going on in your club, and help with sales lift, either with personal training, massage, or any other of your other non-dues revenue sources. We look at communication being key, making sure your employees knows what's going on, as well as helping them with productivity and also knowledge of what's going on in the club. We're really want to improve the member experience, including entertainment. So we have apps and things that could go along in your network to make it easy to use. And then we help generate that advertising revenue that could be on there with going after local and regional businesses to help bolster that community around your club. Everyone was hit just as hard as everybody else with the pandemic, and also if we can all work together, that'd be a great way to get everyone back in shape. No pun intended. So I just want to say thank you to everybody, and I'm actually going to leave it all go to Bruce now.
Thanks, Taylor. Appreciate it. So with that, everyone, if you have questions as we go along, please put it in the chat or in the Q&A, and we'll address them at the end. But thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Taylor, for making this possible. Thanks to all the Rex members, really, for making all this possible. And the great news is, after talking to everybody, especially this past week, the industry is looking very optimistic. Sales are at record sales in many markets. Net profits are up. We're having a better than average summer especially coming out of this. So with that, I'm really excited to now turn it over to Bruce. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you so much. Thanks to Eddie. Thanks to Rex. Thanks to Asaf Gal for recommending me. Thanks to all of you. And they give me just 45 minutes. That's 2,700 seconds to talk. So please forgive me if I talk a little bit fast. Then I'll take some questions afterwards. But here's what I want to talk with you about today. I want to talk with you about leadership. I want to talk with you about your role as a leader in your organization. For some people, the leadership part, oh yeah, I'm a manager, it's a footnote, but it's not a footnote. It's so important. Leadership matters. I come from a place where leadership really matters. And what I want to do today is I want to help you think differently about your role as a leader. I want to give you a little bit of new perspective, hoping to give you some new ideas. And I want to give you some concrete strategies and tactics that you can take back with you to the work you do as a leader in your organization to be more effective. And look, if anyone has dinner with their family and they talk about their boss and they're talking about you, that is a profound responsibility. And it's also critical to your business. So I want to talk with you about how you can rise to that challenge. Before I do anything else, I do want to say I love your industry. I'm a fitness buff myself. And, you know, I've been to plenty of health clubs. So I know that leadership matters from a personal perspective. I know that leadership matters. When something's going wrong, in my experience in a health club, you know, I want to know, where's the manager? Where's the manager's manager? Where's the manager's manager's manager? Not because I want to complain, but because I'm curious. What is going on here? You know that anything that goes wrong, you follow the trail up the chain of command. And you can find a leader who could have prevented that problem, who could have made sure that thing went right. That's what I want to talk with you about. Before I say more, I do want you to know that everything I'm going to share with you comes from what is now 27 years of research on the front lines of the workplace. There's nothing I'm going to share with you that I made up all by myself. Everything I'm going to share with you comes from in-depth interview research over the last 27 years. And our research is a little bit different from most because we don't just ask multiple choice questions. We ask people, how are you being managed? How does that affect your ability to perform? How do you want to be managed? We ask managers, hey, what's hard for you about managing? What gets in your way? And what doesn't work? What does work? Right? And then we listen, right? We keep talking with people as long as they're willing to keep talking to us. So we ask open-ended questions and we listen. More than 500,000 people from more than 400 organizations have participated in our research over the last 27 years. And everything I'm going to share with you comes from those decades of interview research. So let me tell you our number one finding after 27 years of research. Our number one finding is this: it's getting harder to manage people. And I know some of you are probably thinking, wow, man, you did 27 years of research to come up with that. You should have just called me. I could have told you that. And if I've interviewed you and you're on this session, I promise not to reveal your identity. For me, what's more interesting is, why is it getting so much harder to manage people? And of course, over the last 16 months, everything's gotten harder. Everything has gotten harder for everybody, right? But it's been getting harder to manage people for a while. One reason is because competition is so fierce that everybody's trying to get more and more work and better work out of fewer people, right? Everybody's raising the bar, right? We've got to do more, better, faster, more, better, faster. And so the workplace is just becoming more and more high pressure. And the second reason is that the workforce is becoming more and more high maintenance. Everywhere I go, people tell me, oh, everyone's a special case. Everyone's a special case, right? So I mean, think about it. If you get fired up by this program and you're like, you know what? I could be a stronger leader. I could be a better manager. And you go back and you start talking to your people and you're like, oh, wow, all right. I went to this seminar, see? And we're going to do more, better, faster. We're raising the bar, right? And we just need to do more, better, faster. And what are your people going to say, right? Are they going to salute, right? A lot of people will be like, oh, okay, we'll raise the bar. Sure, we'll do more, better, faster. Hey, by the way, I don't want to work on Thursdays. And can I bring my dog to work, right? Because it gets lonely at home, right? So everywhere I go, what leaders tell me is we're trying to get more and more work out of every person. We're trying to help everybody do more, better, faster. Look, maybe, a lot of managers say to me, look, I'm not the boss. I got a boss too. Sure, I may be a manager, but I got a boss too. And my boss is telling me the same thing. Hey, we got to get more work out of fewer people, right? We got to do more, better, faster, more, better, faster. And then you go to your people and they're like, yeah, I don't want to work on Thursdays, right? So managers tell me every single day they're getting squeezed. It's getting harder and harder to manage people. It's getting harder and harder to manage people. And so if it's true, if you agree that work is becoming more high pressure, that the workforce is becoming more high maintenance, what do you suppose that calls for? Weak hands-off leadership or strong, highly engaged leadership? Right? Strong, highly engaged leadership is the solution, right? I know you already know that. Strong is better than weak. I don't have to tell you that. Highly engaged is better than disengaged. I don't have to tell you that. But what if I followed you back to work? What would I find? I bet I'd find that you are super busy. Most leaders, managers, and supervisors, they tell me, well, sure, I'm a leader, I'm a manager, I'm a supervisor, but I don't want to hold everybody's hand. I shouldn't have to hold everybody's hand. I don't think I'm allowed to hold everybody's hand, right? And I got a bunch of my own work to do. I'm not just a leader. I got my own work to do. I'm busy. Right? Leaders tell me this every single day. And so I always say to leaders, look, the good news is there are no newfangled solutions. Don't go for the flavor of the month, right? All you need is the fundamentals. You just got to start practicing the fundamentals with discipline. Right? Getting in shape as a leader is a lot like getting in shape physically. You don't need some, you take a walk every day, eat your vegetables, do your push-ups, do your chin-ups, run. You walk every day for a while, then you start jogging, then you can run. Same is true of being a leader. And here's what I want to do today. I want to tell you what our research shows works. And I want to tell you what our research shows gets in the way. Why do so many leaders not do the fundamentals? And then I want to give you 8 very simple steps back to basics. That's my plan. Then we'll take some thoughts, comments, and questions. And if you don't get to ask a question in this program, or if you think of a question later, then you send me an email. And I promise I will respond. I type much faster than I talk. So that's my plan, okay? So when I talk about the fundamentals of leadership, let me cite, we do a huge amount of work with the United States Armed Forces. I'm very proud to say that the United States Armed Forces has been our #1 client since 1995. And a number of years ago, a 4-star general in the United States Army, this fellow was chief of staff in the United States Army at the time. He's a great big guy. And he one time told me, you know, Bruce, there's only one tool of leadership. There's only one tool of leadership. And, you know, this is the kind of guy, he slapped me on the neck. He's this great big guy, you know. So I said, one tool of leadership? What's that, General? Because he's this great big guy, you know. And he says, Bruce, you know, leaders only have but one tool for leading other people. It's communication. And he says, here's what I don't understand. Why do so many people want to be leaders? Why do so many people have to be leaders? But there's no rhyme or reason to how they communicate. They just do whatever comes naturally to them. If leadership is all about communication, why don't they put more rhyme and reason into their communication? Good question, right? I mean, I ask leaders every single day, what's your #1 asset? People are our #1 asset. Well, how do you go about managing them? And then they say, well, I got my own style, see? I got my own style, right? Really? Okay, well, imagine if you had accountants who, when you asked them, how do you manage the money? They said, I got my own style, see? I don't like the general ledger system. I keep it all up here, see? You'd say, well, okay, that's interesting, but you're not going to manage my money. And you should say the same thing about your people. If people are your #1 asset, leaders, managers, and supervisors should be using the general ledger system. They should be following evidence-based leadership, not their own style. And I guess the reason is, yeah, we all know people are our #1 asset. I said, so people are your #1 asset, and your approach to that is, I'm winging it? Why? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? When I say to leaders, managers, and supervisors, why is there not more rhyme and reason to your communication? I mean, look, take a walk every day and eat your vegetables, do your push-ups, do your pull-ups. What does that really mean? It means you have high structure, high substance team huddles that are quick and effective. And you have high structure, high substance one-on-ones with every person where you make expectations clear, where you follow up, where you track performance in writing, you troubleshoot, problem solve, resource plan, where you reward people when they go the extra mile, you recognize and celebrate success. And when people don't go the extra mile, when they dig in their heels, you look at that as a problem to improve. And when things go wrong, you solve small problems before they turn into big problems. And if things keep going wrong, you keep talking about it. And if things keep going wrong, you get that person off the team. But those are the fundamentals. Those are the fundamentals. It all comes down to high structure, high substance communication. Regular team huddles, regular one-on-ones with a clipboard in your hand or a machine in your hand, taking notes. You spell out expectations. Manage like a coach or a teacher. Follow up. Guide, direct, support, troubleshoot, problem solve, resource plan. Right? So I say this to managers every day and they go, oh, yeah. Like I bet most of you are like, oh, yeah. Right? And so, and what a lot of people say to me is, oh, when you said communication is the only tool of leadership, a big wave of relief crossed through me, right? Because I thought to myself, I communicate with my people all day long. How's everything going? Everything on track? Any problems I should know about? How's everything going? Everything on track? Any problems I should know about? We call that managing by touching base. And those are the three most common questions managers ask their direct reports. How's everything going? Everything on track? Any problems I should know about? The problem is those questions don't tell you anything, right? How's everything going? What I'm looking for there is fine. Everything on track? What I'm looking for there is uh-huh. Any problems I should know about? What I'm looking for there is it's all under control, right? But you're busy. You're busy, right? So you're walking through. How's everything going? Everything on track? Any problems I should know about? And then I know you say, hey, let me know if you need me. I'm just a phone call away. I'm just a text away. Or come find me. Right? I think what managers should say instead is, hey, later on when I'm in the middle of something really important at the least convenient time possible, could you please interrupt me? Because that's what happens. That's what happens. We interrupt each other all day long. And nobody's at their best when they're being interrupted. So when you're being interrupted, what happens is either you get pulled down the rabbit hole and then your whole day goes away, or half your day goes away, or a couple hours go away, right? Or when you get interrupted, see, when the human brain gets interrupted, what you want to do is get back to what you were doing. So you try to get rid of that interruption, right? So somebody says, hey, do you have a minute? You say, figure it out. Do it however you think it should be done, even though it's not up to you. Right? By the way, those are the two most common forms of communication between managers and their direct reports, other than the team huddle, right? Is touching base and interruption. I call it management by interruption. And then of course we're on email and text. And that's no problem because it's great to communicate by email and text, right? And it's not like you're in a tidal wave of emails, so that's easy. Or not. By the way, this is what we call managing on autopilot. So don't get me wrong. I realize you already communicate with your people. But that's what the 4-star general I referenced was talking about when he said that, sure, there's plenty of communication, but there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's ad hoc. It's unstructured. It's like somebody who says, I'm going to get in shape. How are you going to do that? Well, I think I'll start taking the stairs. Okay, well, it's good to take the stairs, but you're going to have to do more than that than get in shape, right? So, all right, you're going to have to follow a program, right? And good news, we have evidence for that. Well, there's also evidence about how to manage. So, because here's what happens as a result of low structure, low substance communication, touching base, interruption, emails, and suboptimal team huddles that are not doing the work team huddles should be doing. What happens is problems hide below the radar. And then they blow up. And then it's all hands on deck. Right? I mean, you touch base, you interrupt all day long, they interrupt you, you're on emails, you have your team huddles. Have you ever wondered why then somebody still comes to you and says, everything's melting down? Right? It's because the problems hide below the radar. If you're managing on autopilot, the problem is it makes you feel like you're managing. How's everything going? Everything on track? Any problems I should know about? Hey, let me know if you need me. I'm just a phone call away, or come find me. It makes you feel like you're managing, but the problems hide below the radar and then they blow up. What most managers tell us is the number one thing that gets in their way, the number one thing that is time consuming for them is solving problems that didn't have to happen in the first place. Well, because I ask managers all the time, well, okay, do you agree that high structure, high substance communication is better? Yes. Do you agree that team huddles should be better? Yes. Do you agree one-on-ones need to get much more structure? Yes. Spell out expectations, coach, guide, direct, support. Yes. Why don't you do that? Here's what managers say, I don't have time for that. And by the way, if I get in there and start trying to do that, pretty soon the HR police take me away. It turns out, you're not supposed to say certain things. You're not supposed to do certain things, right? So there are rules. I'm afraid I'll get in trouble. And then some managers will say, well, I don't have to do that stuff because I'm a natural leader. They just want to follow me. I light the fire in their belly. They want to please me. They look up to me. Do they? Is that doing all the work for you? Right? And I mean, of course, then you have like accountants who are like, well, I'm not a natural leader, so I can't do that. Right? And what a lot of people say, well, gee, if you get in there and you start doing really high structure, high substance communication, then you can get into confrontations at work. I can't have that in my workplace. We want to have an esprit de corps. We want to have collegial interactions. And if I get in there and start trying to manage people that way, maybe people will think I'm a jerk. Maybe they won't like me. Everybody wants to be liked. And also, you get in there and start really managing people, really start having one-on-ones with people. You figure out what works with Mr. Blue doesn't always work with Mr. Red. And pretty soon, Mr. Blue's saying, you're picking on me and you're favoring Red. And you don't want to say, well, of course I'm favoring Red. Red comes in early, stays late, bends over backwards, jumps through hoops, right? Dots his I's, crosses his T's, right? I favor Red because Red does more work than you. How'd you like to be my favorite, Mr. Blue? Right? And then a lot of managers will be like, aren't we supposed to empower people? I wouldn't want to hold everybody's hand. Nobody held my hand, see? This is what managers say. This is what managers say. And these are the 7 great myths that prevent leaders from being strong in the real world. The number 1 myth is the myth of empowerment. The myth of empowerment. But don't get me wrong. Of course you should empower people. The myth is not that you should empower people. Of course you should empower people. The myth is that somehow the way to empower people is to leave them alone to manage themselves. That somehow the way to empower people is to let people figure things out on their own. Hey, do it however you think it should be done, even though it's not up to you. Reinvent the wheel, sink or swim, figure it out. I like to let people learn from their own mistakes. Do you? How cruel of you. Why wouldn't you help them avoid those mistakes? And can your business really afford all those unnecessary mistakes? See, that's false empowerment thinking. And false empowerment thinking leads to 8 costs. 8 costs. Problems occur that didn't have to occur. Problems get out of control that should have been solved easily. Resources are squandered and have to be recouped. People do their basic tasks and responsibilities the wrong way, and it takes a while for anybody to notice. Low performers hide out and collect paychecks. Mediocre performers start thinking, hey, I think I'm one of the high performers. High performers get frustrated and think about leaving, and leaders, managers, and supervisors end up doing tasks, responsibilities, and projects that should have been delegated to someone else. False empowerment is costing you. There are piles of money in the corner of every one of your businesses that could be scooped up. If you have unnecessary problems occurring, if you have problems getting out of control that should have been solved easily, if you have resources not being well planned so they're squandered and have to be recouped, if you have people going in the wrong direction, if you have low performers hiding out, if you have mediocre performers who think they're high performers, if you have high performers who start leaving, if you have managers who say, well, I can't delegate work, I have to do it myself. Mark my words, your managers are practicing false empowerment. Real empowerment takes hard work. Real empowerment is like coaching, it's like teaching. Real empowerment requires a manager who's highly engaged, making sure every team huddle is great and brief, and that there are no digressions, and that everybody is on track, and making sure that they're spending time one-on-one with every person who has dinner with their family, talks about their boss, and they're talking about you. Right? I know some of you manage managers, some of you manage managers who manage managers. This is true at every level of the chain of command. If somebody has dinner with their family and they're talking about you, don't false empower them. False empowerment is costing a fortune. Real empowerment takes hard work. Real empowerment is about high structure, high substance communication, spelling out expectations, following up, following up, following up, documenting performance every step of the way, troubleshooting, problem solving, resource planning, rewarding and celebrating success, and holding people accountable when they don't succeed. That's real empowerment. Don't fall for the myth of empowerment. It's costing you a fortune. The second myth is the myth of fairness. And again, the myth is not that you should be fair. Of course you should be fair. The myth is that somehow the way to be fair is to treat everybody exactly the same. Right? But that's only fair if you're running a commune. Right? There's nothing fair about treating high performers and low performers the same. That's profoundly unfair. And it drives high performers bananas. It makes mediocre performers think they're high performers. And the low performers love it. Think about it. False empowerment. Hey, figure it out. I'm going to empower you by leaving you alone to do it your way. And false fairness, and we're going to treat everybody exactly the same. Who benefits from that? The only ones who benefit from that are low performers. And it drives everyone else bananas. Don't fall for the myth of fairness. What's fair is to give everybody an opportunity to succeed. And then to do more for people when they earn it, and do less for people when they don't, and make it clear. When somebody says to you, I don't want to work on Thursdays, right? The right answer is, okay, let's take it one Thursday at a time. Here's what I need from you by Wednesday at midnight, right? When somebody says, I want more, you say, oh, good news. Let me help you earn that, because we're not running a commune. It's a business. Don't fall for the myth of fairness. Practice real fairness. Give everybody a chance. Treat high performers differently. Help everybody try to be a high performer. Right? You want people you want everybody to want to be a high performer. Right? Help them become high performers. The number 3 myth is the myth of the jerk boss. And that's because people think, well, if I practice real empowerment, right? I coach people, I spell out expectations. You can do more push-ups. You can run farther. You can run faster, right? If I coach people, hey, here's what I want you to do today, right? That if you do that, and if you hold people accountable, and if you distinguish between high performers and low performers, that maybe people will think you're a jerk. Maybe you're being too hard. Right? That's the myth of the jerk boss. Let me tell you what our research shows. The only people who think strong managers are jerks are low performers who are hiding out. Everyone else, when we ask them about their jerk boss, the bosses that they think are the biggest jerks, it's because the boss is too weak, not because the boss is too strong. There are 5 common jerk boss scenarios. Let me share them with you. And please forgive me in advance. If you recognize yourself in any of these, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Everybody falls into these syndromes. So please forgive me if you recognize yourself in any of these, but here are the 5 most common jerk boss scenarios. Number 5, this is the boss who doesn't keep track of what's going on the front lines, but then shows up every once in a while, takes a quick look around and makes a big decision that affects everybody. That's going to make you seem like a jerk. Not because you're so strong that you can make good decisions without information, but because you're so weak, you're making decisions without information. The number 4 jerk boss scenario, this is the boss who pretends things are up to people when they're not. Hey, take a crack at it. Do it however you think it should be done, even though it's not up to you. Then they come back a day later, a week later, a month later, and they say, well, why are you doing it that way? Didn't you know we have a checklist for that? And the person's standing there thinking, hey, well, why didn't you give me the checklist in the first place? Why did you tell me take a crack at it? Do it however I think it should be done. Why didn't you give me the checklist and make sure I understood it? Don't pretend things are up to people when they're not. The number 3 jerk boss scenario, this is the boss who lets small problems slide, because you wouldn't want to come down on every small problem. That might make you seem like a jerk. Here's the thing. Small problems fester and grow and turn into bigger problems. By the time they get back on your radar screen, they may be very big problems with very real consequences. And by that point, the person's going to be like, well, gee, I've been doing this for 3 months. Why didn't you say something? And the classic thing is the person who doesn't come in exactly on time, right? And after 3 months, you're like, you come in late every other day. And the person's like, yeah, I come in late every other day. I thought we had an understanding. That's my style. Didn't you notice all my hints and dirty looks? Well, I'm not a mind reader. I thought you had a stomach ache, right? So don't let small problems slide. It's so much easier to solve a problem while it's still small. The number 2 jerk boss scenario, this is the boss who pretends to be your friend even if they're not. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that in the real world, you might get to be friends with people at work. Now, if you're in charge of that person and you're also that person's friend, that's a complication that makes managing more difficult. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the boss who doesn't know how to build rapport by talking about the work. So they shoot the breeze. They build false rapport. Hey, how is your, I understand you got a bike. How much did your bike cost? Hey, did you watch that show last night? But then as soon as the work gets serious, they get all serious. And by the way, sometimes managers say, well, we have to be able to shoot the breeze. But I don't have time to manage people. Well, if you don't have time to manage people, you don't have time to shoot the breeze. Shooting the breeze does not do the work. It builds false rapport. And then when the work gets serious, that rapport goes right out the window. Build real rapport by talking about the work that you share. Okay, the number 1 jerk boss scenario, you already know what it is. That's the boss who's hands off, hands off. Don't call me your boss. We're colleagues. We work together until they get angry. Something goes wrong and they get angry. And then all of a sudden they remember they're the boss. And then they come in maybe and choose someone out, maybe the wrong person at the wrong time about the wrong thing. They go back to their office or their cubicle. I just did me some managing. Then they go right back to being hands off. I promise you that's going to make you seem like a jerk. You got to be strong before anything goes right, wrong, or average. If you're afraid that your people might think you're a jerk if you're a strong leader, you're fooling yourself. Now, strong leadership is not the same as having a tantrum. I put my foot down, right? A tantrum is just loud, nasty weakness, right? You got to be strong. You got to keep track of what's going on every step of the way so you make good decisions. You got to make it clear to people every step of the way what's up to them and what's not. You got to solve small problems before they turn into big problems. Build real rapport that makes the work go better by talking about the work. You're the leader. You should be into the work. Hey, that's what's going on here. Be strong before anything goes right, wrong, or average every step of the way. And the number 4 myth is a close cousin of number 3, that, well, if I start managing people, they're going to push back. I'm going to have difficult conversations. Here's the thing. The reason why there's so many crucial conversations, fierce conversations, difficult conversations at work, it's when you try to put your foot down, right? It's when the way to avoid difficult conversations at work is to have a whole lot more structured dialogue before anything goes wrong. That's how you avoid difficult conversations at work. Because if you're hands off, things will go wrong. And by the time you deal with it, you're probably frustrated and angry. I'll tell you one of the weird findings in our research is that managers spend more time managing when things are going wrong and they're frustrated and angry. That is the most time-consuming communication in most managers' situations. When they spend the most time and have the most high structure, high substance conversations is when things are already going wrong and when people are frustrated and angry. But nobody's at their best when they're frustrated and angry. No wonder those conversations are so crucial, so fierce, so difficult. It'd be like if you were really out of shape and then every 4 weeks you try to go for a 10-mile run. It doesn't work, right? You want to get in shape, you got to take a walk every day. And the same is true of leadership. You got to have structured dialogue every day, every other day. Not, hey, how's everything going? Everything on track? Any problems I should know about? Let me know if you need me. No, you got to drill down. You got to have conversations with with a clipboard. Tell me exactly, what are the right questions? What are the right questions? What did you do? How did you do it? What are you gonna do? Show me. That's like taking a walk every day and eating your vegetables. And that's how you inoculate yourself from those difficult conversations. The number 5 myth is the myth of the natural leader, right? Some people are like, I'm a natural leader, right? Some people are like, oh, I'm not a natural leader. Well, either way, I will tell you what's missing in 9 out of 10 management relationships is not a leader who can light the fire in someone else's belly, right? It's a leader who spends time with their people, making sure they understand exactly what to do, exactly how to do it, exactly when. They make sure they have the resources they need. They make sure they're available right there for, hey, tell me what problems might happen. Tell me what problems you might run into. Let's anticipate them now so you can avoid them. But that's what's missing. What's missing is managers who follow the basics. They make sure their team huddles are not pro forma, but they're structured and powerful. They make sure their one-on-ones are not unstructured, but rather are structured. Even if you're talking to each other all day long, that structured one-on-one is where you make expectations clear, track performance, make decisions, problem solve, troubleshoot, resource plan. One-on-ones can be 10 minutes, but they got to be structured. And so don't fall for the myth of the natural leader. That's the number 5 myth, the myth of the natural leader. Don't fall for it. You don't have to be a natural leader to be a great manager. And anyone can learn to practice the fundamentals. We do a lot of work with the United States Armed Forces. Show me a 19-year-old kid in the Marine Corps who's been in the Marines for 18 months and is in charge of a fire team, right? That's the lowest level of leadership in the Marine Corps. Show me a fire team leader, I'll show you a better manager than 90% of senior executives in the private sector. Why? Why are they so good at it? Well, of course, you know, they're wearing a uniform. Well, that helps. They can make people do push-ups in the sand at 4 a.m. Well, in this case, so can you. They can make people clean the latrine. I don't know if you do that, right? But push-ups are good for everyone. But it's not that. It's because they don't put anyone in charge of anyone without teaching them the fundamentals. They don't teach young Marine leaders to light the fire in someone's belly. They teach them to spell out expectations, follow up, follow up, follow up, keep track in writing, troubleshoot, problem solve, resource plan, recognize extra effort, and hold people accountable when they dig in their heels and refuse to do what they're supposed to do. It's just the fundamentals. And if a 19-year-old kid can learn that while people are shooting at them, God bless them and keep them safe, you can do it too. You can do it too. By the way, you know, I've been on the faculty of new general training in the Army. This is true in all the branches of service, by the way, that they teach them the fundamentals. Well, I served on the faculty of the new Brigadier General's training in the Army, the Strategic Leadership Development Program for the United States Army for years. And what do they teach the generals? Same thing. Spend time with your direct reports. Make team huddles highly structured. Make one-on-ones highly structured. Spell out expectations. Follow up, follow up, follow up. Troubleshoot, problem solve, resource plan. Recognize and reward performance. Hold people accountable when they don't perform. The fundamentals are all you need. Okay, the number 6 myth is the myth of the HR police. Oh, I got to write stuff down. Yes, write stuff down. Dot your I's and cross your T's. Of course, there are reasons why you may not discriminate between and among employees. You may not, you must not, and you should not. If you do, you'll get in trouble, and you should get in trouble, right? But all the HR police are trying to get you to do is dot your I's and cross your T's. You should be documenting performance every step of the way anyway, right? And what you should be documenting performance every step of the way anyway. Number 1, if you document performance, then you're safe, right? Only write things down about performance, never the person, only the performance. Use describing words, not naming words. Don't use insults and flattery. Describe. If you do that, a whole new world will open up to you. I'm prohibited by the bar code of ethics from dispensing legal advice while I deliver a non-legal service, but I am a lawyer. All you got to do is keep track in writing. If you do, HR can help you. There's 3 other reasons to keep track in writing. Right? Number 1, it sends a powerful message. Oh, you're writing that down? Of course I'm writing that down. Wow, you must be serious about that. Of course I'm serious about that. Right? Number 2, if you keep track in writing, it helps you keep track of your ongoing dialogue. It helps you pick up where you left off. And number 3, if you keep track in writing, then when someone says, well, you didn't say that, you can say, I said that. See, I said it yesterday at 10:17 a.m. I wrote it down. Maybe you should write it down this time. Keep track in writing. Don't blame HR. Of course you can do it. Now, the number 7 myth is the toughest one, the myth of time. I don't have time for this. But here's the thing. When managers don't manage upfront in advance, it's like not spending time getting in shape. If you don't spend time getting in shape, you're going to have a heart attack. You're going to die. You spend time taking a walk every day, you live longer. You get the time back. Well, I know sometimes people get hit by a bus and then they're like, I wasted all that time working out. But, saying you don't have time to manage is like saying you don't have time to get in shape. You get the time back. You don't have time not to manage. When you spend time upfront in advance, guiding, directing, supporting, coaching people, when you do that, fewer problems occur. Problems get identified and solved more quickly. Resources are better planned so they don't get squandered. People go in the right direction, not the wrong direction. You scare low performers away. Go work for my competition. High performers get recognized. Everybody does better work, and managers find themselves able to delegate. You get your time back. Every hour you put in upfront in advance, guiding people in the right direction, will save you 10 hours on the other side. Well, we have a client, we work with not just the military, but with the Park Service and the Forest Service. There's a very famous park ranger who's a bear, a talking bear. You've probably heard of him. His name is Smokey, and he's famous for saying a lot of things. One of the things he's famous for saying is, it's a whole lot easier to prevent a fire than it is to put one out. It's a whole lot easier to prevent a fire than it is to put one out. This guy's a genius and he's a bear, right? Managing upfront in advance is fire prevention. So what are the 8 steps back to basics I've been telling you the whole time, right? Get in the habit of managing people every day, not touching base, interrupting, firefighting, but high structure, high substance, team huddles, quick stand-ups with an agenda where you set people up for success. Here's what we're going to do today. And then high structure, high substance one-on-ones with every person. Step 2, customize your approach to every person. Everybody's different. What works with one person may not work with another person. Right? Everybody's different. Some people, you got to talk to them. You need 2 structured 5-minute conversations, one at the beginning of the day, one at the end of the day, right? You coach them into their position, then you coach them out the door with a clipboard, right? Some people, you talk to them a half hour once a week or a half hour every other week. Everybody's different. You got to customize your approach to every person. Step 3, talk like a coach. All that means is talk about the performance, use describing words, and focus on what are you going to do next, when and how. Show me. Show me. Step 4, make accountability a process, not a slogan. That means not you got to get people when they fail. No, you got to get people in the habit of giving an account of their performance every step of the way. Step 5, make expectations clear. And so sometimes managers say, well, what am I supposed to do? Tell people do your job? Well, yes, you tell people do your job. That's a broad performance standard. Anytime you could say from now on, it's a broad performance standard. Expectations are what are you going to do today, tomorrow, this week? When and how? Step 6, track performance in writing. Document. Keep score for people when they're winning Keep score for people when they're losing. Keep score for people every step of the way, just like you would for a personal training client. Step 7, solve small problems before they turn into big problems, because they often do. And if somebody won't let you help them, get them off the team. Step 8, do more for some people and less for others based on what they deserve. And when people come to you and say, I want something, right? Use that as an opportunity. Oh, you want something? Good news, I can help you earn that. Here's what I want you to do next, when and how. You don't want to work on Thursdays? Here's what I need from you by every Wednesday at midnight. Right? And celebrate success. Celebrate success. We talk way too much about things when they go wrong, instead of talking about things to make sure they go right, and then celebrate them when they do go right. The fundamentals are all you need. Now, I've given you a super executive summary of 27 years of research. I want to make sure there's time for thoughts, comments, and questions. If you don't have time for thoughts to ask a question now, send me an email. I'm Bruce T at rainmakerthinking.com, right there. Rainmakerthinking.com. Bruce T at rainmakerthinking.com. You send me an email. I promise I'll respond. I type faster than I talk. Thanks for giving me some of your time. But I hope that we'll get some questions.
Thanks, Bruce. That was great. Yes, and if you type faster than you talk, everybody will get really quick answers. That's great. And that's coming from one New Yorker to another. So yes, a couple of questions that are coming in. Yes, the recording will be sent back out within 2 days to everyone, as always. The ebooks had some great resources in it. Brandon is asking a question about what books are the steps from. So which of your books would you say would cover some of the things you just covered today?
Gosh, that's my publisher's favorite question. What I just gave you is It's Okay to Be the Boss. Those issues are also, there's also a sequel to It's Okay to Be the Boss called The 27 Challenges Managers Face. There's also a book for your direct reports called It's Okay to Manage Your Boss, which is the flip side. My wife says I should have called that book It's Okay to Shut Up and Do As You're Told. Because it's really about how to help your boss manage you. But thanks that's a great question. That's one of my favorite questions ever.
Okay. Well, thanks. Who else has any other questions? Well, let me just pull into the chat. I think, so one suggestion I have for everyone is take a look at the ebooks and PDFs that Bruce and Kim were generous enough to share with everybody that we got over to you. A lot of what Bruce talked about is in there on a high level, but I think the real good detail is in the books. And they're definitely
that's really true. Sorry for interrupting, but I knew you had the ebooks. That's why I wanted to give you the sort of the big picture and make you and I wanted to help you see that I do understand your day-to-day reality. I hope that came through, and I get why you don't always practice the basics. So I'm trying to convince you to practice the basics. I'm trying to give you the outline of the best practices. But one of the ebooks is the Strong Manager's Guide to One-on-One ones. One of the infographics is Good Meeting Discipline. And one of the ebooks is those 8 steps with some more details and some management tools to apply them.
Thanks, Bruce. And Kim just put a note for everybody in the chat. There's also a ton of information. If you go to Bruce's website, rainmakerthinking.com as well, you'll be able to look at a lot of free content that's out there that'll really give you a good direction as to which book is probably the right first step for you, is what I would suggest.
Yeah. There's also a video, on-demand video training that's 60 lessons that really breaks down all the best practices.
It's great. Yeah, we all need help in managing, managing up and managing both down. And I'm sure this is really valuable for everybody. I know I got a lot out of it. I've got pages of notes, and I've already been reading your stuff ahead of time. So that's speaks volumes to the value of it.
Thank you. Anyone have questions that I'm not getting to answer?
I don't see any more questions coming in at this point.
All right.
I don't see any. I think they're just sitting there saying, wow, this is like drinking from a fire hose of information and how do I, what's my next step? So I think it's great information. Okay, so with
Well,
that, we're gonna say thank you, everyone. So I will get everything out to you. I'll also include in there contact information again for Bruce and his website as well, besides the video. And you'll be able to access the end of the video to see everything we're talking about here. I want to say thanks to all the Rex members. I can't wait to see everybody in September in our first in-person meetings in a long time. And hopefully see everybody in Dallas at the URSA convention as well. And for those of you that are not in Rex Roundtables, looks like about 24 or so. There are 2 or 3 roundtables that are looking for 2 or 3 members each. If you want to reach out and talk about what it takes to get involved in a roundtable. So thanks, Bruce, for everything. Maria, you can stop the recording. You still there?